that was a real problem for Darwin. Is why hadn't they evolved? Because if evolution is the idea of moving ever better and ever better and ever better, then why have sharks remained the same? Another one that really got to Darwin, he called it an abominable mystery, is where did angiosperms arrive from? Angiosperms are flowering plants and the flowering trees. And our Earth went along, our planet went along for millions of years with none of them. And then all of a sudden, angiosperms appeared as if overnight, as if they were dropped from nowhere. And so that one is one that Darwin called just an abominable mystery. He just couldn't come up with it. But or look at the whale. This is one. If evolution is all that is cracked up to be, look at the whale. 50 million years ago, the whale was a mammal. It still is a mammal, but it had legs, and it was walking on Earth, and then it took to the water, and once in a while, even today, a modern fisherman will haul in a whale that has one of those hind legs, just an atavistic hind legs, and knee muscles sticking out of its side.
I've never heard of such a thing. It sounds wild.
It's and that was one of the things when I was doing the research that I came across, because modern whales certainly didn't have any hind legs, but back in earlier times they were land-living predators, and they did have legs, and so those useless hind legs are nothing more than throwbacks. But if we call it a great evolutionary advance that humans evolved from a fish by growing legs, what do we call it when a whale discards those legs? Is that an evolutionary retreat? Have we really gotten better, or have we just gotten different? Look at horses. 50 million years ago, the horse had 4 toes. Now it has 1 toe. We call it a hoof. But every now and then, a healthy mare with the right number of toes, 1, will give birth to a foal that has additional little toes sticking out beside the hoof. So what possible purpose, evolutionary purpose, can we see there? I think it's kind of like accidental evolution is what we're talking about.
Are you also saying from the first 33 minutes of this segment that an evolutionary leap can come extremely fast out of nowhere?
Oh, absolutely out of nowhere. And this is not something that I'm alone on. There are so many scientists that have said the same thing. I just don't think that anybody has really listened to them, but suddenly, actually that's one of the title of one of my chapters, but all paleontologists know that the fossil record contains precious little in the way of intermediate forms. And that's a quote from Stephen Jay Gould, the late Stephen Jay Gould of Harvard. He said that transition between major groups are characteristically abrupt. And then Robert Bacher, he's a paleontologist in Colorado, but he talks about the pterosaur, which seemed to, and this is a quote, which seemed to burst into the world like Athena from the mind of Zeus, fully formed. Even the earliest pterodactyls already display fully developed wings and the specialized torso and hips so characteristic of the entire order. And we find so many cases like this, says Bacher, that many scholars are persuaded that evolution doesn't work slowly at all. So what I look is that evolution sometimes speeds up and suddenly produces totally new adaptive configurations. And then the newcomers, they learn to cope. It's not the evolution in the conventional sense. They don't change their bodies to fit the circumstances. They have to adapt to the bodies they were given. It's not survival of the fittest. It's arrival of the fittest, as far as I'm concerned.
Fascinating. Really. Very fascinating. It's arrival of the fittest. I like that.
Yeah, it is. And there's, going back to Robert Bacher, the idea of slow, gradual, imperceptual evolution is wrong, he says. The fossil facts don't proceed that way. Mass extinctions always come suddenly with no warning. The population is then immediately replaced with entirely different species with no forerunners. And then there's one that I love. There's a British geologist, Derek Ager. He said that geologic change always comes in spurts. The history of any one part of the earth, like the life of a soldier, consists of long periods of boredom and short periods of terror. And I love that one. But those short periods of terror, that's when the evolutionary leaps take place.
I would imagine that between your book Ice Age Now and your site Ice Age Now and all the work you've done about climate, in combination with the knowledge you have about magnetic reversals and evolutionary leaps, must lead you to a certain perspective of what's happening that's very different than a lot of people.
Yes, well, to begin with, my first website, iceagenow.com, kind of tells the story. As I think the next ice age is on its way right now, which is going against a lot of various pretend scientists, as far as I'm concerned, the IPCC. But I'm getting more and more people that are listening. I'm getting more and more emails from meteorologists and atmospheric scientists who say yes, the idea of man-made global warming is a hoax. When I started out, it took 6 years for me to get the first 60,000 hits on my website. And now I get 30,000 hits a month. Now I know that's, I know a lot of places get a lot more hits than that, but to me that's very heartening, is that I can see that the message is getting out. And of course the other part is that the climate is generally doing what I've been saying. I just posted on the website yesterday that Polish scientists just came out this week. They are forecasting that this winter, could be the coldest winter in 1,000 years.
Wow. You mean in Poland or anywhere?
In Europe.
Wow.
And now, to be fair, when I posted that, I also put that the Russians don't necessarily agree with that. But the way the Polish forecasters look at it is that they have noticed the Gulf Stream slowing down tremendously. And they fear that if that could stop entirely, that Europe would be plunged into a little ice age this winter.
I'm supposed to be in Europe this winter.
You're going to be in Europe?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be in London in December.
Well, during the last ice age, polar bears were roaming the outskirts of London. I don't know. NASA says no, the Gulf Stream is actually warm. So there's a real controversy on this. Just let me be fair here. But still, there are a lot of scientists that are coming out. There was in May, I went back to the Fourth International Climate Convention put on by the Heartland Institute, and there was an astrophysicist there, Dr. Habilo Abdusamatov. I hope I said that right, but he's an astrophysicist from Russia, and not just any astrophysicist. He's the astrophysicist that is handling the Russian part of the International Space Station. And Dr. Abdusamatov, he says from his studies, he thinks that we will be entering a little ice age by the year 2014. Well, that's only 3 years away.
Right.
And he bases a lot of that on the sunspot cycle. There was another scientist there, Herrera from Mexico, also an astrophysicist who also thinks that we could be headed into an ice age.
Robert, how come you think it is that in the context of the global warming media, that the actual temperatures that are being recorded are not being given to the public? Is it true that we've been in a cooling cycle for several years? Depends
on who you're listening to. The Royal Society just came out last week. The Royal Society is the